Hi guys, thank you for joining. This is Essence of Medicine. Today we're talking about oral vitamins. I'm Amanda Armagost.
See, for essence, now oral vitamin as opposed to what?
Like an IV, like a vitamin IV.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say oral vitamins, I mean like vitamin supplements. I don't mean making sure that your diet that you're eating like contains all the vitamins that you need, because I know, at least especially in the United States, that is very difficult to do.
Well, vitamins can be given orally or IV. Your body really doesn't care, but why not? Why does your body doesn't care if you take the vitamins orally or IV?
Well, your body needs the vitamins at the end of the day, but my understanding was that when you take vitamins orally, sometimes you don't absorb all of those vitamins, or maybe your body can't handle some vitamins, like your stomach can't handle it. So then if you get it through an IV, you can absorb them better.
In a very specific situation, that's true. Now, what when we eat something, our body breaks it down to the individual elements that it can absorb. And like protein, they get cut in smaller pieces like amino acids and small peptides. Bread get cut into carbohydrates and even smaller smaller pieces. And fat, obviously, it get absorbed as individual molecules. So your body had to break it down. You eat something, your body had to break it down so it can absorb it. Our body does not break down any vitamin, meaning that your body, if you take it orally, it absorbs it as they are. And that's what makes them vitamin, because our body cannot build it. So, and it takes it as is. In that sense, that's why it doesn't really make a difference for your for the effectiveness if you take it orally or into your IV, except in certain situation your body regulates how much of that vitamin it takes, or in certain situation it has to be certain other like a peptides attached or a molecule attached to that vitamin so they can be absorbed. Like especially for the vitamin B, we call it so-called intrinsic factor, meaning that you take the certain vitamin like vitamin B, some of the vitamin B, into your stomach, your body attach another molecule to that. It's called intrinsic factor, and then the combination can get absorbed because the vitamin itself can poorly be absorbed. Now, in that case, if your body, like you had a stomach, they cut your stomach out because you have obesity, high BMI, and they want to reduce your calorie intake, and then all of a sudden your body cannot absorb that vitamin anymore, and even though you have a good nutrition, you still can have the vitamin deficiency. In that case, they have to give it the vitamin to you through your IV, but that's a very specific, very rare case. Otherwise, your body can work with the vitamin one way or another. Obviously, I'm sure when you came with the idea of talking about the vitamins, we were talking about the culture of taking vitamin pills, vitamin supplement.
I actually had a couple of things on my mind when I chose that topic. Trigger warning, a little bit TMI, but I take 2 vitamins in the morning. I take 2 vitamin combinations in the morning, a multivitamin that has like a lot of vitamin B in it and a couple other things, and that one's supposed to focus on like energy. But when I take it, it's very clear that I've taken it when I go to the bathroom because my pee is bright yellow from the vitamin B. And even when I get an IV, I know that for sure it's the vitamin B, because when I get an IV, when you put the vitamin B in, actually you can see it because it's yellow when it goes into the IV bag. But additionally, you can taste that when it's going into your arm, you can taste the vitamin B too. And that's what my medicine tastes like. But then I also take like a more feminine vitamin, which is for hair, skin, and nails.
What is a feminine vitamin?
I
don't need that.
So what was your question?
Do men don't need that vitamin, or?
Well, there's just more vitamins in it that are to support women. That's my understanding, and obviously I'm sure it's a marketing tactic, but I like it.
Well, as I told you that I cannot hold back, I have to go a billion year back, as it's my way to talk about anything, because everything can be explained in biology and in our history. Life started as a one-cell organism on the planet. And believe it or not, most of bacteria could build anything they need to survive. They don't need any additional thing. The bacteria just take what's around them as energy source and then build everything else out of it. But then when the life went on, some we had animals, and then still most of the primitive animals, they build everything they need. It's like a chemical factory. They can build everything. But then, obviously, if they don't build what they need, they are eradicated. They die out. But then, eventually, some of the animals, I mean, in the nature, there's only two ways to survive, right? You take the energy from the sun, or you eat other animals, right? These are the only two ways.
You can eat other plants.
Well, or eat other living being. Let me change it that way. So you use the energy of the sun, or you eat other living being and use their energy. This is the only way in the nature to survive. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I guess.
Is there any other way? Now, there is another way, but that didn't really went far.
Well, I was also thinking, like, what about stuff very deep in the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, that is the so-called the sulfur and heat managing bacteria. That is the third way, but that didn't really go far. The other way, sun and eating other living being, it obviously came as far as making us.
Yeah.
So eventually, some of these animals, especially animals, they found out the other stuff are so plenty, they don't have to make it. Like many of the amino acids, they're everywhere. Human body, they are so-called essential amino acids. There are 5 or 6 of them that our body, if it has to, it can build 1 or 2 of them, but most of them, if we don't eat it, we will die because our body cannot make it. Okay? And that makes actually how, if you are a vegan or vegetarian, you have to live more consciously, have a balanced life, because if you eat other animal meat, then you always get those amino acids. But if you have a very one track diet and you're vegetarian, you have to be careful there. But
same with B vitamins. There's a lot of B vitamins that are only in like animal products, like dairy and meat and eggs.
Yes, and eventually life figured it out to be economical, or it wasn't any advantage to make that substance because it was around a lot. So, and then over next, I would say now 500 million years, it was no advantage to make that yourself or get it from your nutrition. So we end up just losing that capacity to make those substance. Now, obviously, there are so-called carbohydrate. Obviously, we don't make carbohydrate. We cannot. We use it as an energy source. Fat, we can make fat from carbohydrate, and we can take a carbohydrate and make in a way so that part of that resembles what sugar makes, and that but when you have a ketoacidotic diet, like a Atkins diet, that's what you do. Your body changes and makes some material from ketones, from the fat, that resembles what you would get from sugar. So there are some still crossover. And for amino acids, obviously proteins, there are 6 of them you have to take, but our body can actually make fat and sugar from amino acids. But 6 of the amino acids practically we have to eat. They are like vitamins to us. not for many other animals. Other animals are making it. Some animals even make it, like cows. They don't. There are lots of things they don't make themselves. They make the bacteria in their gut, the microbiome in their gut, make it, and then they absorb it. There's some symbiosis. But there are a series of things that, no matter what, we cannot make. If we don't eat them, our body falls apart, and there are not a lot that we need from them, because most of them are catalytic, meaning they make it easier for certain biological, biochemical event to move forward. And those are discovered in a way. Do you know how vitamins are discovered?
No.
They're discovered because in certain situations where nature didn't think we are going to do that, we couldn't get them, and then we died. Like, nature didn't think we are going to be on a ship for 2 years. So when the British or Portuguese start sending people on the ships for years around, all of a sudden they notice the gums start bleeding. They lose their teeth. Their wounds don't heal. And they were eating well. Well, for that time frame standards, even the captain and so on. And then they noticed, if you eat like citrus fruits, you don't have that things. As a matter of fact, the idea of pasteurization came from French government when they were colonizing the rest of the world. They needed a way to prepare food without losing. They noticed that if you eat this food fresh, you don't get that disease. But then what they did, they had to make that food durable. They did a conservation. They cooked it, then packed it, and then they ate that the same food, but then still had the disease. Then they noticed that is what Louis Pasteur actually did for French government, is that they understood if you bring the food to a certain temperature, the bacteria that spoils the food dies, but still is not hot enough for whatever makes that disease not appear if you eat the food, not to be altered. So they found out if you bring the food like 64, 62 degrees centigrade, bacteria dies, the food becomes preservable, but whatever prevent us to have the scurvy doesn't go away. It's not destroyed. So, event. Sailors die on the sea. Sailors who eat citrus fruit or certain food don't die. But you cannot make that food durable, because if you cook them, whatever
the nutrients
help them, the nutrients is destroyed. And then, but the last step, that if you heat the food to certain temperature, bacteria die, but whatever that vital aminos, that's where the name coming from, the vital aminos, they still are preserved. What they are, we all thought there are some amino acids. They weren't. Most of them weren't. We thought they are. That's why we call them vitamin. Now, and it took us a long, long time for us to understand what that really is, that makes the citrus or food that is not cooked have that, what that really is. That's how we found them. And that's how they are numbered. In the order they were found, they're called vitamin A, B, C, D, and
I
C.
always wondered how they got their names, because I like how when I buy my vitamins, they're in alphabetical order. And I wondered like if the A maybe was short for something. So now I know, I guess it's just.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you know that vitamin B has many, many numbers, like vitamin B1,
6,
B2,
12,
B6, 12, and so on. Well, you understand what? Do you know why there are other vitamins? They don't have 1, 2, 3, but vitamin B has 1 through 12.
No, I've never known
You
that.
remember that we talked about that these vitamins are numbered or called by the order they were discovered.
Mm-hmm.
So they called they found something, they called it vitamin B, and then they found vitamin D and E and F and whatever. No, F, I'm joking, but those numbers, those letters were given, but then they found out vitamin B is not one substance, it's many substances. So then they called them vitamin B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But then they found out those 11 or 10 is not real vitamin. Our body can actually in a different way build it. So we don't call them vitamins anymore. Then we end up with vitamin B1, B2, B6, B12.
Yeah, so is that what happened to like vitamin F? Because I know there is a vitamin K, like spinach has vitamin K.
Exactly. But that thing that we thought, see, science is a moving target. We found out, but then we found out there are different categories. There are some of them that are part of an enzyme, there are part of them that are catalysts. And then we start understanding truly the, first in 1930s and 40s, truly understand, not long ago, what they really do for us and how they are helping us.
So we found out about vitamins because people needed vitamins that they were lacking. But now I have like the belief, or, you know, it's kind of my idea that people are taking too many vitamins. I feel like people are kind of overdoing it, where when you go to the store, it's literally an aisle on the left and an aisle on the right, and both are full of vitamins. And of course, every vitamin has like a need, but if you're like, do you really need to take that many vitamins every day? Like if you're a healthy person, if you're having a well-rounded diet, you're making sure that you're eating like multiple vegetables a day, multiple fruits a day, and your meats, how necessary is it to still take vitamins?
So you're absolutely right. You're right on the right path to understand. This is United States of America. We are a capitalistic society. If there's money to be made of anything, we will make money out of it.
But also we're a very lazy society. Actually, I remember when I first learned about vitamins, I think I was in like 6th grade, and my dad had our medicine box and like there was some vitamin B in there. And my sister and I thought that if we took every vitamin in the cabinet, we wouldn't have to eat dinner and we can just have brownies instead. So then we like ate all the vitamins and told my dad, like, don't worry, we don't even need dinner, we're just gonna have brownies. And my dad was so pissed. He's like, no, you're not eating any brownies. So that's another thing that I feel like is like the United States is very lazy, and we want to have like fast food, we want to have the yummy foods. So is that kind of like a band-aid at all? Those are my two thought processes for this TikTok or this.
Well, let's go first with, you understand what the vitamins are? You need it for certain biological processes in your body. Without them, you die. There are those that you absolutely need, and there are those that if you have to, you can build it yourself. Like vitamin D, we thought, like, we noticed in certain situation, these kids are born and they grow up, the bone, they're not hard, they bend.
Mm-hmm.
And then we noticed that those patients, if they get certain food like fish and so on, they're far away from fish, they don't develop, or they are cured of that. So, and then we noticed that as well, if you get a lot of sun,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get that. So we noticed, but then we figured out, like vitamin D, if you can, actually your skin can build it from other material under the sun. And then that's why, but imagine you live in England, there's not much sun.
Yeah, in Minnesota, we're supposed to take vitamin D supplements in the winter at least.
Yeah. So there is enough. Not nature tries everything.
But I think, like, back to my point in the U.S., if you live in the U.S., are you going, like, you're not probably going to die from not taking vitamin D supplements, correct?
If you have a healthy diet, if you don't have a one track diet, you are not going to need any vitamins at all. You don't need vitamin supplement. The vitamin supplement is, I would say, there are two things that are a total scam in the United States or Western countries. Number one, the vitamins, because as you are just talking about that, if you are not living in the mountains in 1500 and you have no access to fish and or in an island that you don't have access to any fruits, your diet will give you everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need supplement, period. Not even pregnancy, just you have to have a good diet. But what are we doing here? We are having one track diet, like carbohydrate, all processed food and so on.
And sorry, but we also live in a country that genetically modifies our food to grow faster and ripen faster, so it doesn't have the time to get the nutrients that it needs in itself. So our food has less nutrients now than it did at a different time.
No, well, there's two things to what you just said. This genetically modified, faster growing. Now, they are still not short of vitamins and so on. They may have other things that is not good or not good for us, but because the vitamins, if the plant that is genetically grown doesn't have enough vitamins, it doesn't grow. Because plants need the vitamin to grow.
Yeah, but they're growing differently. They're not like okay, think about when you were in Oman. What did you say when you ate the grapes?
They taste better.
Yeah. And then you eat grapes here in the US and they taste like nothing. And actually, like, the mulberry tree is a perfect example of this, because if you have a mulberry tree from Asia, the berries are shaped differently and they have more flavor and more color. And if you study dietitian thing, you learn that you should be eating every color of the rainbow, because the colors in the food are a good representation of the vitamins in the food. So if you're eating only white food like bread, it's obviously going to have less nutrients than if you're eating like carrots that are dark orange.
I agree with you. You should have a balanced diet and you should eat every color of the rainbow, including red meat.
Okay, but guess what? If you open my fridge, there's going to be some red strawberries in there.
But what I'm getting at, there are two big scams in the United States. One is the supplement market, and the other one is the diamond. Now, I cannot finish this without talking about the other scam, the diamond, because there are 6 families in 1900 got together in Swiss, and they decided they want to get really rich by selling diamond around the world. And the richest country then was United States. They put it in our head that if you don't go on your knees and present a sizable diamond to your spouse, that you don't love them enough, and it has to be a 1 or 2 months salary to be this. They actually tailored that
now.
They tailored that to American market, and guess what? Since then, they're putting in a vault in the mountains of Swiss about 90% of the diamond that they find. So to create a artificial shortage of diamond, so they can get very, very, very rich. So they this was a marketing success. They made everybody believe that if you don't present the diamond, you don't love enough. It was a very deliberate, and the supplement market is the same. It's a huge marketing scam that if you cannot have it, you are not going to be healthy if you don't take this supplement and so on. And coming back to that, there are 2 groups of vitamins. Okay, those that are soluble in fat, E, D, K, A, and those are water-soluble.
B, C.
Like the other ones, the C and B, and except you live in an environment that you don't have access to certain things, like obviously people who don't have access to seafood, they can be short of fat-soluble vitamins, not only, uh, D and even other vitamins. But I think if you have access, literally access to Walmart grocery department, not Walmart supplement department. If you have access to even Walmart grocery department and just put a little bit of a common sense in what you eat. So, number one, Walmart grocery department. Number two, eat all the colors of the rainbow. This is all you need to have a healthy life.
And also, like when I say eat every color of the rainbow, I'm including purple, I'm including every color, but that should be a variety. So like Dr. Abbasi said red meat and I said red strawberries. You shouldn't only eat red strawberries. You should also be eating different red things like red beets, different things.
And obviously, the balance, don't eating just red or
strawberries.
That is not a balance, meaning that you eat them in a balanced way, not like 90% red meat and then 10% everything else and so on. So, but overall, I think considering that you can walk into any now grocery store and you have access to actual food, I think that makes it really ridiculous how we are fixated on the supplement here in the United States. And guess what? The worst thing is other countries, they want to imitate us. Like my people in Iran, where they have access to fresh fruit that it was just gotten from the field 2 days ago, and it's on their thing. They ask me to bring them vitamins. I mean,
where here it's like the other way around. It's like, can we have some fresh vegetables? Like, I live in Minnesota. There's farms as I'm driving to work. I don't need my fruit to come from California. It can come from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
But actually that brings up another thing I was wondering. So I want to explain it before you answer it. When you take a vitamin, you're taking a lot of, like, I want to use vitamin C as an example. When you take a vitamin C, you're taking a lot of vitamin C all at once. Can you absorb all of that vitamin C all at once, or will you pee a lot of it out? And I'm wondering, is it better to eat an orange in the morning and an orange in the evening, and then you absorb more of that vitamin C because you're spacing it out?
Okay, well, every vitamin is a little different. Some vitamins, your body regulates them, like vitamin C is a good example. You can take as much vitamin C as you want, but your body will use about 0.5 gram of it a day, and it pees the rest.
Yeah.
So if you take like 5 gram of vitamin, 5,000 milligram of vitamin C, you're just peeing it out. And it doesn't hurt you because
it doesn't help.
But it doesn't help you either. And vitamin C is something that is so crucial. Our body regulates it really well. There are some other vitamins that if you take too much, actually they have a negative effect on you.
Like calcium is a good example. I always like to use calcium is actually a bell curve where if you're not having enough, it's bad for your bones. But if you're having too much, it's also bad for your bones.
Well, especially vitamin D is one of those vitamins that you can have so-called hypervitaminosis, meaning you have too much of the vitamin and your metabolism is skewed in an unfavorable way. And same with vitamin A and so on. But again, it all comes back. Most of those vitamins that you have hypervitaminosis, most of them, not all of them, they're mostly the fat-soluble, because the water-soluble, they get better peed in your urine. But there's some exception to that. But the fact is, when you take those vitamin pills, 9 out of 10 times, you take like by a factor of 100 or 1,000 times more than your body really needs. And you have to take a lot of it before they have side effects. But sometimes that exactly happens. People take a lot more than their body needs, and your body become actually sick from it.
Yeah. Is iodine a vitamin?
What?
Iodine? Is that a
Iodine
vitamin?
is an element.
Okay.
And iodine, see, there are lots of things our body needs. Like there are some kind of amino acid that our body doesn't build. There's some kind of fat that are essential to us. We cannot build, but we need that to build our cells. And there are obviously vitamins or some, they call this called vitamin because we thought they're amino acids. They're not. They're more complex molecules. But there are some element like our body needs iron. Okay, and our body needs iodine, not in not in a big amount, but these are like iodine is used for hormones of our thyroid,
Mm-hmm.
and that hormones of the thyroid. Have you heard of the word goiter? When people, especially in the mountains, they didn't have access to seafood, then they didn't have to get their vitamin K and iodine, and then their gland, their gland would grow to absorb more of the vitamin because your body thinks, oh my God, I have to grow, and because I don't get enough, I have to grow and absorb more. Maybe there's more out there, but I'm too little. And then their neck would grow huge because their thyroid gland would grow. We don't ever see that anymore. You only see that in the picture from 1800.
Mm-hmm.
Now, iodine is like, now sometimes your body to deal with things need a vitamin and certain molecules. Iodine is a molecule, it's an atom that your body needs for certain, for thyroid hormone. The
Okay.
same
Yeah.
way that the iron is in the middle of our hemoglobin and makes it functional, iodine is, or molecule is, in a specific location in our thyroid hormone that enable us to do certain metabolism in our body.
Yeah, because I know some people that take iodine drops, and then some people that only eat like iodine salt.
So what food has now you see salt, iodine salt. We found out that there are two ways to get salt. You can get salt from the oceans, and you can get salt from in the mountains from a mine. We found out this people who use the salt from the ocean, they don't have iodine problem. But the salt in the mountain, they are mined out. It seems that they don't have iodine. And we figured it all out before we knew what they are. People who eat salt from a quarry in that place, they get goiter. People who make their own salt from the ocean, they don't develop goiter. Lots of things was experiments on actual living human by observing empirically who has what kind of disease.
I might be getting a little bit confused, but I thought that in the Midwest there was a little bit less of a thyroid issue because isn't there iodine in potatoes?
No, lots of food have potatoes, and lots of food has iodine, including potatoes.
Yeah, but I thought potatoes had like a pretty high level of iodine, and that's why when you cut them, they turn purple if like it's exposed to oxygen for too much.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it might be. I'm not aware of that. But as well, it has a lot to do with the geographic area and what the minerals are in that region and so on and so forth. But what we did find out that people who didn't have access to seafood or product of the sea, because you get lots of those, and people who eat fish, they get everything that fish get, and fish get everything what's in the ocean, and everything is in the ocean.
And that's why I do not eat fish, and I never have.
Now, but the advantage of that is everything that you need is in the ocean, and fish that are in the ocean have everything that you need. So
everything is in the ocean. That's definitely right.
And that is why, some people say that's why in southern France or in Japan, where people live mostly from, the fruit of the sea, I would say, they live longer, better, healthier, less heart problem, and so on. That's what people say.
That's what they say. I
Okay.
think they also say you shouldn't eat too much fish because there's a lot of metals, like heavy metals in them, mercury and stuff. But I thought also if you're on certain medications, you should watch how many vitamins that you're absorbing. Like for instance, vitamin K. If you're having heart troubles, shouldn't you maybe not eat too much kale and spinach because of your blood thinning?
Well, that's a very good, observation and statement. Now, people who have heart problem or they have vascular problem, you want their blood flow easier. Then you put them on something that make the blood doesn't coagulate or flow easier. We call them anticoagulant. A certain category of anticoagulant like coumadin, which again we found it from a different plant, that if you eat that your bleeding doesn't stop. Then we said, what is it? Oh, that helps us actually. That can kill you, but that can help you. That can help you if you have your arteries are getting narrower. That enables your blood flow easier in your artery. That actually helps you. And then same material that is we use as medication, we use as a rat poison. You see, rats, they go through a smaller hole. Their skull is their skull, it deforms when they go through a smaller hole. Now, if you give them this specific poison, which is coumadin, which we use for blood thinner, as a blood thinner, when they go through a smaller hole and they squeeze their skull through it, there's small, tiny bleeding, which usually stops. But if they have eaten rat poison, that bleeding doesn't stop and they die.
They bleed out internally?
They bleed out in their head and they die, yes.
Oh, very
That is
interesting.
how some of the rat poison works. And now we use it as a medication. Now, what it does, it prevents certain factors in your blood clot to be built. Now, to build those blood clot factors, that enzymes that they use vitamin K. So you give coumadin to reduce your ability of your body to build those factors, so your body has less of those factors, so it can flow easier to a certain point. But then if you eat a lot of vitamin K, you're counteracting the effect of that blood thinner medication. So it's a harmony and balance in what you feed to your body. And like the same medication, if it's too much, as a neurosurgeon, I take care of a lot of patients with head bleeding, like the rats, you remember?
Yeah.
That they took too much medication, or the body worked too much with what they got. The coagulation goes really bad, and then they bleed in the head and they die. Same mechanism, but they don't go through a small hole. But then sometimes it's just some random, very trivial, they hit the head against the cabinet and so on. And that's enough to kill them.
Wow.
But a normal person, it wouldn't. So there's a huge balance in what you give your body and how your body manage that. About same thing, they say poison is always in the dose. It can be a poison in certain dose and medication in other dose, and it's not different for vitamins. Now, for most of them, certain amount, and it's as well for food. What if I told you a good friend of mine died of drinking 3 gallons of water in one afternoon?
I wouldn't be surprised because I've actually heard of that a few times.
So, is it anything more that our body needs than water?
No, obviously we need water.
Yet water in a large amount can kill you.
Yep.
So why should it be any different for vitamins or kale or food or
literally anything, even oxygen, right? Like, can't you need other things to breathe besides oxygen?
No,
right?
You don't need other things, but if the level of you be clear, you don't need any other gas to live beside the oxygen. But if the oxygen concentration goes above 40%, usually it's 23%, if it goes above 40%, it literally oxidates and burns. It's an oxidant. It's become toxic to your lung and your respiratory pathways. You're absolutely right. Too much oxygen can kill you.
There's always too much of a good thing.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that was all I had on my head about vitamins.
And I didn't have to go too far, billion years back this
Yeah,
time.
just 1 billion.
Yeah.
Thank
For
you
a short
guys.
period of time.
Thank you guys for watching. This was Essence of Medicine. Today we talked about oral vitamins. I'm Amanda Armagost.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.